The ground and the sky rattled like cogs. Something gigantic was descending from the sky, and there was a person blocking it. The magic power and giant story caused a burst of brilliant sparks as they collided. There were 40 seconds until the start of the destruction scenario. The opponent was an outer god. Little by little, the ceiling of the sky was coming closer. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint didn't back down despite the pressure weighing down on the entire castle. No, she couldn't back down. She never backed down from her beliefs. This was the banner of a transcendent who only walked a single story. Fight it! The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint revived the despairing Muram people. Many constellations are interested in the development of this scenario. Some constellations are paying attention to the transcendent Namgong Minyong. The stars were gathering in the night sky, like piranhas smelling blood. The constellations illuminated the sky with a red light. The Dokkaebis also appeared like they had been waiting. Constellations, it is time for the destruction to come. Some of the constellations were watching the world's demise with a somber expression, while others were watching with excitement. Every person's feelings were different, but the downfall of one world was nothing more than entertainment for them. Just like me. At this moment, many emotions muddled my head. Maybe these emotions had been piled up since the Gourmet Association. If I threw away Muram here, would I be any different from them? Breaking the Sky Sword Saint, I pulled up my status, and a change occurred in the constellations. The constellation Prisoner of the Golden Headband is looking forward to your choice. Many constellations are paying attention to your presence. The attention moved from the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint to me. You. If I caught the eye of the outer god, I wouldn't be able to escape this place. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint knew this and stopped me. This isn't your battlefield. It was as if this page wasn't allowed for me. Leave this world to the people here. I didn't know what the Muram was for the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. It was a place that worshipped her god while also bringing her down. Nevertheless, at this moment, the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint decided to defend Muram. The stories of the 29th scenario area, the first Muram, is piling up. Then Muram responded to the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. The 29th scenario area has found its guardian. The first Muram is looking at Breaking the Sky Sword Saint Namgong Minyong. The possibility of a giant story is germinating. The Breaking the Sky Sword Saint blinked with surprise. Perhaps it was the first time she had heard this message. If someone wanted to destroy the world would respond to the destruction. In this world, everything that has built up history has a will. It was a land that was made of the blood, flesh, sweat, and effort of the Muram people. The stories carved onto the land were flocking to the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. Grandeur could be felt from the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint as Muram nestled in her body. The possibility of a giant story. It hadn't blossomed yet, and I didn't know when it would be germinated. Still, it was the possibility of a giant story. A bizarre sound that resembled laughter poured from the sky. Finally, 5 tentacles descended from the sky. No matter how great the possibility of a giant story, it was impossible to stop the outer god with just the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint. The outer gods were beings who had lived a long time and faced such giant stories. She knew no more time could be wasted, and the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint shouted, "Go, now!" Then my body was pushed into the car. The portal was activated. Yu Junhyuk belatedly regained his mind and tried to get out of the car, but the X-grade for our Agini had already started. It only took one moment. As we passed through the portal, the Breaking the Sky's master was silent. The scenery of Muram slowly moved away, and everything was covered in darkness. The survivors never said anything for a long time. You have arrived in the 73rd Demon Realm. There are 3 days remaining until the Demon King's election. Maybe it was because too many things had happened in a row. The party had no words after returning. The car turned off, and only a stillness remained. I'll smoke a cigarette for a while. Han Myung-oh left while Jang Ha-young placed his head against his knees. The Breaking the Sky master whined while Yu Jung-hyuk... Damn, I breathed calmly while thinking about what I gained from this journey. Everything I had done was for the upcoming Demon King selection. I went to Muram to recruit the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint as a colleague, and went to the Gourmet Association in the process. I couldn't bring the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint back with me. I couldn't persuade the constellations of the Gourmet Association. The only income was that Yu Jung-hyuk and Jang Hae-young became stronger, there was a transcendent dog, and coins possessed? 4,890,875 coins. The second revision update has been completed. Despite the message, I didn't dare to look at my smartphone. Nevertheless, I had to look, even I felt disgusted by the contents I would see. Kim Dokcha. I looked up and saw Yu Jung-hyuk staring at me. I couldn't bear to read the anger in his heart. I had nothing to say, even if Yu Jung-hyuk tried to kill me here. What do we do now? It was a voice that contained no special feelings. I felt a subtle fear and triggered Omniscient Reader's viewpoint. Then I immediately regretted it. ... My chest was stuffy from the suffocating emotions. They were emotions that couldn't be described in words. The sorrow was too deep that it couldn't become language. Yu Jung-hyuk was already a madman. Maybe he had been like this for a long time. This event would wear him down even more. The emotions that didn't burst would move on to the next turn, and it would lead to his death. It would wear at him and isolate him. The breaking the Sky Sword Saint of the third round would be forgotten. I opened my trembling lips. I needed to say something. The breaking the Sky Sword Saint was surely alive. She would come back alive. However, I couldn't say it. I wasn't TLS 123. We have to try, was all I could say. Struggle, fight, and turn things upside down. Yu Jung-hyuk stared at me quietly before leaving the car. I could see it without asking. Maybe he was going to do his own preparations. This was Yu Jung-hyuk. He didn't give up on his goal, even if he gave up his life. Despite the mighty despair, he challenged it again and again, overcoming that despair. Thus, he lived and would live like that. Eventually, he became unhappy. Once Yu Jung-hyuk, only one sentence that I read from his heart was left with me. I'm not like you. I brooded over this sentence as I turned on my smartphone. I knew what Yu Jung-hyuk was talking about me. 3 ways to survive in a ruined world. Second revision.txt. The death of the Breaking the Sky Sword Saint would be recorded. The success of this round would be written down. Maybe the changed ending would be written. The fourth wall is shaking faintly. My trembling fingers touched the screen several times. Yu Jung-hyuk's words once again emerged. I'm not like you. I didn't know what that bastard knew about me. I had watched Yu Jung-hyuk for over 10 years, while Yu Jung-hyuk hadn't even known me for a year. That jerk, what did he know about me? I turned off the screen. It didn't matter what was written. In any case, the story I wanted to create wouldn't be in it. Jang Hae-young, I want to save Miram. Jang Hae-young wiped his eyes while raising his head. I stared at him and slowly opened my mouth. I didn't know if this would work or not. Still, it was better than doing nothing. There were various beings in the detention center of the executive branch. It was mainly filled with imprisoned constellations and transcendents caught by the probability conformity assessment. However, it was rare for a member of the executive branch to come directly, even if probability was violated. Those who used too much probability would be hit by a storm, and it was easy to avoid attention. Even so, the executive branch had to step in for this man's situation. The Dokubi Yonki sighed as he gazed at the map, trapped in the probability net. Look here. Then the little person looked at Yonki. Yonki gazed at the handsome face and said, You should now return to your original scenario area. Isn't your home in danger? ... Thanks to you, your planetary system is unable to proceed with the scenario. The small man laughed. Once I leave, you will send the disaster to Peaceland again. Didn't I say already that won't happen? I don't believe in your words. Yonki flinched and stepped back at the growling voice. This was why transcendents were tricky. The constellations could quickly understand once spoken to, but the transcendents were stubborn, mortal, and sometimes made absurd messes like this. The man continued to speak. There is someone I'm waiting for. I'll stay here until he returns to my home. Waiting for? Who is it? I'll leave on my own once he comes. Yonki was about to open his mouth again when the prison door opened and a new prisoner appeared. Fucking dokubis. The prison shook from the fierce, true voice. Yongki and the small man turned towards the voice at the same time. At the entrance, a constellation who had been bounded by the executive branch, Dokkaebi's, was walking in. It was a constellation with the appearance of a lizard. "That bastard scammed me! He was the one who stole my coins! Why did you grab me instead of him?" "If you can't find a way to repay your debt, you will be forced to take away a story." Yongki had a rough idea of the situation. Sometimes these things happened. The constellation came here because he couldn't repay the ridiculous loan interest. Yongki was clicking his tongue while the constellation continued yelling. The Dokkaebis were familiar with such turmoil, but one person wasn't. "Shut up." The brash swamp predator turned at the cold voice. "Who are you, little man?" At this moment, a tremendous airflow swirled around the little man. His body seemed to rise in the air, and blue lightning wrapped around his body. "What?" The brash swamp predator let out a confused sound. The power of a mortal pressed down on his status. It was something he had never experienced before. The net of the prison let out a pained scream. A strength beyond the probability assigned to this place was rising from the small man. The shocked Yongki and the other Dokkaebis increased the output of the net, but the situation didn't change. The man's body became smaller, and he popped through the net. The huge storm shot towards the brash swamp predator. The whole building shook and dust rose. The brash swamp predator lay on the floor. 5 Dokkaebis had bravely rushed forward and managed to deflect the trajectory of the blue-white fist. The terrible traces left by the fist remained on the wall. Rather than blaming the master of the fist, the Dokkaebis quickly delivered a report. "Congratulations, brash swamp predator. You are free." "Huh? What?" "I just received an order to release you. Someone has paid your debt." "What? Who?" The brash swamp predator forgot what just happened at the news. The moment the Dokkaebi mentioned a name, Kyrgios's body stopped while the brash swamp predator wondered, "That guy? Paid my debt?" At this moment, the blue-white lightning of electrification shot towards the Dokkaebi. Kyrgios picked up the Dokkaebi by the collar and asked, "What did you just say now?" No, what? The name you just said. Where is he now?" Before the Dokkaebi could answer, a message flew into Kyrgios's ears. Kyrgios stared blankly at the air for a moment before walking past the Dokkaebi towards the entrance. Yongki urgently exclaimed, "Wait a minute! I can't let you go. If you go back to your home planet, I won't go home." The Paradox Bokchung, Kyrgios Rodgrame, spoke with a smile filled with anger. "I will go to my disciple,